1 to verse 21, and then this evening from verse 22 to 31. Verse 31, that's the end of the psalm. Psalm 22, a song of lament and praise. It changes just on that verse there, in verse 21. Read the first 5 verses, and then we'll just have a look at those verses, then go from 6 to 10, and then from 11 to 21 later on in the service. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me, and from the words of my groaning? Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and I'm not silent. But you are holy, enthroned in the praises of Israel. Our fathers trusted in you, they trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you and were delivered. They trusted in you and were not ashamed. Just look at those first 5 verses and then we'll read the next parts. But Psalm 22, like the Gospels and the book of Acts really, tells us about the facts and the fruit of the cross. It doesn't delve into the teachings of the cross. That's, I suppose, in Old Testament terms, you would look at Isaiah 53 to have a better understanding of what the teachings of the cross really mean. Paul, it's left to Paul really to teach us about the cross, its meanings, in his letters. Jesus himself didn't really speak in the sense of expressing the teachings of the cross. And in the book of Acts, you'll find their sermons. They just said Jesus died and he rose again from the dead. They didn't go into a lot of explanation about it, and that's what happened here. It talks about the facts and the fruit, the events surrounding the cross and the fruit of the cross. That's the things that those are the things that are written here in this particular psalm. If you look at the top, if you're fortunate enough to have a little heading there, it says, to the chief musician set to the tune of the Deer of the Dawn, a psalm of David. Quite a few animals is mentioned in this psalm, and the first one that we find is actually in the tune that's penned to it. It's the Deer of the Dawn, the doe of the day, or the doe of the morning. And in this sense, it's the story of, it's a lament of a hind, a deer, a doe, whatever you want to call it, surrounded by, encompassed by, encircled by lions, wild oxen, and wild dogs. And it's the story that really befits the tune. And so the tune was penned, and the psalm was sung to this tune. We say the hind of the morning. The morning in the book of Psalms always depicts hope. Of joy comes in the morning. And so it's a psalm of lament that becomes a psalm of praise. So let's just have a little look at what it says here. There are times when you look at it and you think that the phraseology that's used, that the person who's crying out in the initial instance, David, and in the full instance, the Lord Jesus, you can almost think that doubts of fear have crept into the heart. But it's not a break of faith that has happened to it, it's a break in fellowship. That's what he doesn't understand. His trust remains true throughout. And so it's the break of fellowship that we find here, not the break of faith. That remains true. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me and from the words of my groaning? I cry in the daytime, and you do not hear. And in the night season, I'm not silent. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and were delivered. They cried to you, and you delivered them. They trusted in you and were not put to shame. He prayed once on the river Jordan, and God answered him publicly from heaven. He prayed once on Mount Transfiguration, and we're told that God answered him. When I say publicly, to 3 other witnesses, they heard his voice. In Jerusalem, on the day that he entered the city on that donkey, he prayed again, Father, glorify your name. And then there came a voice from heaven and said, I have glorified it and will glorify it again.
Oh.
See? And so we find when Jesus prayed, there was always an answer. At the grave of Lazarus, he said these words, Father, I thank you that you have heard me. He was in constant fellowship with the Father. But now that fellowship has been broken. And he asks the simple question, why? Now there are those that will turn and perhaps move into areas that I don't really want to go into today. All I want to say is this, that throughout his trust remains true. After the despair of the opening 2 verses, the first thing he does, he looks up. He looks up. And he is entrusting himself to the character of God, the proven testimony of God. But you are holy, enthroned in the praises of Israel. You see, someone came to visit us from outside of Caerphilly, and in passing as they went, they said, do you know such and such? I said, yeah, I know. Do you know the church they go? I said, yeah, I know. They said, do you know that church hasn't been to visit them? And I said, well, I don't really know about the story. But I said, I know within that church there are some good visitors. And I'd be very, very surprised if they hadn't visited. They had visited, in fact. I made it my business to find out. See, there are times when there is a trusted record of account. And when I heard they didn't visit, it didn't match to what I knew. Not of the situation, but of the person. Yes. It didn't match. And here, he is convinced that yes, forsaken, yes, desolate, yes, in silence, yes, unheard. Yet, I know you are holy. I know you're enthroned in the praises of Israel. And after looking up, he looks back because history, the account of what's happened in the past, will assure him. And so he first looks up, then he looks back. Our fathers trusted in you. They trusted and you delivered them. They cried to you and were delivered. They trusted and you did not put them to shame. He looked up, he looked back. History assured him in this situation that he was in. It's a perfect picture of the cross. There are at least 3 instances here where Jesus himself quoted these verses, my God, why have you forsaken me? It's all he quoted on the cross. We are told also of another prophecy, that they pierced my hands and my feet. They tore my hands and my feet. Another prophecy talks about his tongue cleaving to the roof of his mouth, because he was as dry as a potsherd. All my water is poured out. And on the cross he said, I thirst. Fulfilling the scripture, John says. We're also told of an instance that Matthew, Mark, Luke and John record, the strangest of incidences to record. They parted my garments among them, and for my clothing they drew lots, they threw dice. It's a peculiar one for all 4 writers to pick, and I wonder why they did that. What's so significant about that one section of the Old Testament, that one verse? I don't know. But here, as he looks up and he looks back, he's assured. So we move to verse 6 and 10. 6 and 10. But I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men, despised by the people. All those who see me ridicule me. They shoot out the lip, or they show contempt with their mouth. They shake their head, saying, he trusted in the Lord. Let him rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. Almost word for word for what the priest said at the foot of the cross. He trusted it. He made the Lord his delight. Let's see what he's going to do with him now. So it's 4 or 5 things that are actually going on in this psalm thus far. If you notice, our fathers, but I am a word. Our fathers, they trusted in you. We can understand that. But I am a worm. When you see the photograph of the worm that's referred to, it doesn't even look like a worm. In fact, when Jesus quotes the word that's translated in the Greek in the New Testament, it means maggot. And that's what it looks like. We have talked about him becoming a shepherd. We've talked about a shepherd becoming a lamb. The lamb becomes a worm, a maggot. But I am a worm. I'm not even a man. Isaiah says, isn't he? In the just preluding Isaiah 53, he says this in chapter 52. His visage, his appearance was marred more than any man. And he goes on to speak in those early verses of chapter 53 of the disfigurement of Christ. One writer said this: he was no longer recognizable, never mind as Jesus, but as a human being. But I am a worm and no man. What a contrast between our fathers. Some glorious names there, isn't it? Our fathers trusted in you, the great patriarchs that have gone before. You could have listed a great name. But I am a worm and no man. Perhaps we'll come back to the worm a little later on tonight. What on earth did they do to him? What have we done to him that he has become a worm? And yet, in such brokenness, he turns, he looks up, and he looks back. But you are he that took me out of my mother's womb. You made me trust on my mother's breasts. I was cast upon you from birth, from my mother's womb. You have been my God. He looked up and he looked back. You see, there are 2 points in life, and it's a guarantee, when your vulnerability is most pronounced: at your birth and at your death. You are so vulnerable in those final stages. People have to do everything for you. And he looks back to the beginning, when everybody had to do everything for him. He said, but you brought me into this world. You see the trust. You see what he's doing. He's no longer using history now, as he's looking back. He's using his story now. You took me out of my mother's womb. You made me trust on my mother's breast. And so forth as it goes through. And so the one forsaken feels assured within because of the track record of God, because of the track record of history and his dealings with his people. He's assured. And here, even though a worm, he has been brought into this world, and God kept him for this final day of vulnerability. And he's trusting. Verse 11 then. or verse 11 to verse 18. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. Many bulls have surrounded me, strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths, they like a raging and roaring lion. I'm poured out like water, all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it has melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to the dust of death. Dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked has enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far from me. O my strength, hasten to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my only one, from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth and from the horns of the wild oxen. Previously, he looked up and looked back. Now he looks up and he looks out. And he sees what's arrayed in front of him. When it says gaping with their mouth, it doesn't mean that gormless look. You know the look, when you think of gaping, it doesn't mean that. If you've got a margin, this is what it says. They have opened their mouth at me like a raging and roaring lion. It's a snarl in their voice. He's encircled, encompassed, surrounded by wild oxen. These are not the oxen. Judith, well, to be fair, not just Judith, but myself as well. If I see cows in a field, I'm a little bit weary like. These wild oxen of Africa kill more than the lions of Africa. The wild oxen of India kill more than the tigers of India. They're untamable. The lion in itself, a rapacious, vicious animal. And wild dogs. Not the dogs of the West. These are wild dogs that will hunt in packs. The pariah dog, they will be sometimes called. And they encircle them. And as he's looking out, he sees what's there before him. And he's conscious of the fact that every joint is out. He has been drained of all body fluid. All the water has gone from me. I am like a dry potsherd. My tongue clings to the jaws of my mouth. They pierced my hands and my feet. This is 1,000 years before the cross. 1,000 years. He looks out. He's looked up, but he says in verse 11, be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is none to help. It almost feels as if the cross ends in defeat. In fact, if you look at all the translations, hardly any of them pick it up. The nearest to it, I suppose, would be the Authorized Version. But even there, the Authorized Version limits what is actually said. And so he looks up, he looks out. There's time for one more look up. But you, in verse 19, but you, O Lord, be near to me. O my strength, help me. Deliver me from the sword, my only one, from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth and from the horns of the wild ox. One last cry, where he has trusted right the way through, And in this last cry, the psalm turns. As far as I can see of the different translations, it's only the New King James that has picked up what is actually said in the original verse, or the original words, at the very end. This is what it says here. You, O Lord, be near me. Help me, deliver me, save me from the lion's mouth, from the horns of the wild ox. And in the New King James, you have answered me. In the Authorized, it says, you have heard me. Which in one sense means, but this is a far clearer note. You have answered me. The cross was victorious. When we read Psalm 22, you almost feel that it's a defeat. When you come to these verses, towards verse 21, you look back and you think, well, what was the outcome? Verse 22 through to 31 tells you what the outcome was. The Hebrews right there puts it in reverse. It says this, looking unto Jesus, the author and finisher of our faith, who, for the joy set before him, endured the cross, thinking little of the shame. That's what it means there, despising the shame. Thinking little of the shame, putting it aside. I got something more important, is his attitude towards it. Thinking little of the shame, and is now seated at the right hand of God. And from there, the psalm turns to one of not the facts of the cross, but the fruit of the cross. Verses 1 to 5, he looked up, he looked back. Verses 6 to 10, he looked up, he looked back. Verses 11 to 18, he looked up, he looked out. But one more look up. Be near me. Help me. Deliver me. Save me. You have answered me. What everyone else saw, they just saw his head bow. But the work was done. And he was answered. Verse 24 says this. For he has not despised, nor abhorred the affliction of the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from him. But when he cried to him, he heard. Calvary then. Victory. 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 Calvary, death for him, life for me. Calvary, peace. Calvary, forgiveness. Calvary, change. Calvary, a new world. Is there room at the cross for you? You'll find out tonight that a whole world can hide itself in those wounds of Calvary. What a blessed thought. Is there room for you? You don't know what you've done. Listen now. Find out what he's done. Yeah. He became a worm for us. A worm that was prepared to ascend a wooden gibbet and attach himself to it to bring life to a new generation. What a glorious thought. You can hide yourself